That boy is my world. And it's like you guys don't give a crap about how I feel or how it feels to not have my son. But
I know exactly how you feel. I know exactly how you feel.
No, you don't, because
yes,
if you
I
did,
do.
then you would understand and
Yes,
tell
I
Mr.
do.
Brown that I should have every right to that boy.
Because you did not write me that. You did not write me that. Because when I came in the room, said I got your message. How could you write somebody back and your main son is your son?
I never told you that I got.
So hold on, Miss Mangram, I want to understand.
That one line tells you the energy in this courtroom. Carrie is here because, after 25 years, her father started questioning whether she's really his. 2 years ago, on Thanksgiving weekend, the adults have stories, excuses, and a lot of talking. But today, there's one thing that can't be argued: the DNA envelope. First, listen to how this mess started.
You are grown. Mr. Boville, don't make me come off this bench.
You are grown. And my mother has never, even when we tried to down talk, she used to say, no, that's still your father.
Notice how fast this turns into blame. He says he carried doubts, and she says her identity got shook at 25. Then the adults start circling rumors, another man, activities, even cousins who look similar. But none of that answers the only thing Carrie wants. Were you there for me? And when she says it out loud, it gets loud.
My grandmother never, she brought us to Massachusetts and sent us to your mother from South Carolina to Massachusetts.
My mother
that
did.
picture that I sent here, that was the first time I've been back to Boston since I was born that I couldn't think I got to see him. I went a couple of years ago. My aunt.
This is the part nobody can spin. He claims he loved her, and she hits back with receipts, missed milestones, empty promises, and years without a dad. The judge has to shut him down so Carrie can finish a sentence. But talking won't rewrite time. The court is here for an answer, and it's coming. Listen for the envelope.
Especially a person in the family, what would be the motive?
The motive to me, if he was saying any of that, the motive was he was just a liar too.
Were you ever intimate with this other man?
No.
DNA settles the argument. He is her father. And the wild thing is, the loudest moment turns into the softest one. Carrie apologizes for the pain, and she forgives him. That doesn't erase the missed years, but it does end the doubt.
When it comes to 25-year-old Carrie Boville, it has been determined by this court, Mr. Boville, you are the father.
But now that he knows and he has no more reason to doubt me.
Here, the argument isn't, were you a good dad? It's, who gets help? Tamaro says the love of her life died while she was pregnant, and without his name on the birth certificate, she can't file for death benefits. But his sister says the dates don't add up and calls it a benefits play. Watch the stakes climb today.
You say your brother is not father, and you claim you have more than enough evidence to prove Miss Cameron is lying. You believe she's trying to receive death benefits she is not entitled to.
That missing name is the whole problem. No certificate, no proof, no benefits. Meanwhile, the family's trust is already cracked. There's talk of an STD running the streets, and whether he even believed the pregnancy was his. So the judge does what courts do. She starts counting months and lining up dates, and that math is where everything starts wobbling.
His father's name is not on this birth certificate.
Let me see the birth certificate.
And that breaks my heart because my father's on my birth certificate. He's on my other child's birth certificate, so.
When somebody says, maybe the dates was off, that's not an oops. That's the case. One side has a calendar and an appointment. The other has a conception story with specific days. The judge hears the gap and calls it huge. But instead of arguing forever, the court goes to the only test that can answer it. Results time now.
To the doctor with her on June 28th.
Yes.
And the doctor said she's 6 months pregnant. And so when you count back 6 months,
yes,
it's during the window of time when
and why I feel like
it's not his child.
Okay.
And so, Miss Cameron,
yes,
The result doesn't come from his DNA directly, so the judge explains they test a grandparent, and the finding is clear. The grandmother is related, meaning the child is tied to that family. Tamaro celebrates, and even the sister can only give a reluctant, I guess. That's the courtroom's version of surrender.
John.
Thank you. These results were prepared by DNA Diagnostics, and they read as follows. The results determine if there is a viable relationship between.
Now the roles switch. It's the alleged grandmother demanding answers. Natasha says she loves the baby but believes she was deceived and wants the truth before it gets deeper. Because her son is incarcerated, the court uses a grandparentage test instead of his DNA, but the mother admits another man was involved. Listen to what she claims proves paternity.
I can provide that for my son because I've been working my butt off every day, going without seeing my son. I see him once a week.
This is where people start playing genetics. She points to an extra digit and says it's passed from the father's side, then piles on traits. Natasha pushes back and says it doesn't work like that. Plus, she heard the mother's side had the same thing, and when that doubt hits, the family brings in a witness with a sharper accusation.
Right then and there, but she waited almost 5 days before she brought the cops to my house. If it's not my kid, why didn't you come that day with the cops?
So what happened when she brought the police to your house?
You know, by that time, I'd already talked to one district attorney and 3 police officers who told me the same thing that I already knew.
That's the ugly part. It's not just doubt, it's intent. The witness suggests the mother knew someone on her side had the 6th finger and kept it quiet, so the family trait would pull Natasha in. Natasha admits she got emotionally attached, then snapped back to 50-50. At this point, there's only one clean way out. Results, right now.
He was the father?
No.
He said he doesn't believe Miss Stewart whatsoever.
So, Miss Stewart, let me ask you again. Did you go down and file paperwork or sign anything requesting child support?
No, Your Honor, because I went down myself to see if I can get this DNA started. And they said that.
Well, that brings us to the end of this courtroom roller coaster. One daughter gets confirmation and forgiveness, one mother gets the proof she needs for benefits, and one grandma learns she's not related, but still has to process the attachment.
I know exactly how you feel. I know exactly how you feel.
No, you don't, because
yes,
if you
I
did,
do.
then you would understand and
Yes,
tell
I
Mr.
do.
Brown that I should have every right to that boy.
Because where are you living at and where's he living at right now? And you know that's what's best for him.
If Mr. Brown is not.
That's the sound of a court that's had enough. Today, 3 paternity disputes hit the same wall: timelines, receipts, and a DNA envelope. Everybody talks tough until the math and the lab results show up. First, 2 parents scoring points while a toddler watches. Then, 2 sisters chasing a 29-year answer. Finally, a stranger from Facebook shows up.
Okay, but that doesn't have anything to do with Bree's paternity. All right, let's go to the results. Jerome, I'm done.
Okay.
I'm done.
Deep breath.
These results were prepared by DNA Diagnostics and they read as follows.
So the judge lays it out. Mom says he's been denying their 2-year-old, and Dad says he's done being played. But notice the pattern. Everything is about the adults. She wants him to claim her daughter. He wants an exit, and the kid is stuck in the middle. Listen to how she describes the shift in his behavior.
Commons, you claim the defendant has been denying your 2-year-old daughter Breeze and refuses to do anything for her. You are furious and testify that you are certain he is the father and plan to prove that today. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
That's a rough picture. He's on the paperwork, he's at the appointments, his family's throwing showers. Then suddenly, he's telling a little kid to go to your mama. But then you hear why the switch flipped. Trust. He says the past is full of cheating, and he decides to play detective instead of partner. Now here comes his loyalty test.
Now, I'm here today to prove Mr. Baker is the father of my daughter. Not only have he been there from day one, he signs her birth certificate, he went to every doctor's appointment, his family even threw her baby shower. My family, we don't need to throw baby showers because my auntie, she like well off or whatever, so she buys my kids whatever we need.
And that's the problem with games. You test someone, you're already planning to be disappointed. He claims he caught different men at her place. She admits a guy was there, but tries to draw a line at what didn't happen. Meanwhile, the judge is stuck sorting stories, not parenting. But the court isn't here for vibes. The envelope decides.
Oh, come on, man. If it was some legs open, I don't have
Next day, right? She called me, like, is you coming, you gonna come back over tonight? I did the same thing. I'm like, nah, I ain't gonna come over there, man. I ain't messing with you feel me, like that. So then I come over again after I leave the club.
DNA lands, and suddenly the argument gets smaller. He says he'll be there for his daughter, but admits the trust is gone with her mother. She fires back like he's choosing drama over responsibility. The judge's point is simple. The baby doesn't deserve tit-for-tat adults. Next, 2 sisters face a 29-year mystery that never stopped hurting.
In the case of Commons versus Baker, when it comes to 2-year-old Breeze Baker,
Mr. Baker, you are the father.
Get a hug. I'm happy.
That hug is the end of a fight, and you can hear it in her voice. Tiffany and Laquita come to court saying they've always known this man is their father, but his denial haunted childhood. He shows up with doubts, and the judge calls it a 29-year mystery. Before results, listen to what denial did to them.
Ms. Lytle, you and your sister claim you've always known the defendant is your father and say his paternity denial caused pain throughout your childhood. You hope today's results put an end to this 29-year mystery. Is that correct?
She says she grew up angry, writing poems, feeling like a piece was missing. Her mom is gone, so the only answer left is the man denying her. But he doesn't deny with emotion, he denies with math. He submits a timeline and says the dates don't line up for one daughter. Watch the judge run it in court now.
Growing up, I was angry. I always felt like there was a piece of me missing. I was very defiant because, I wanted my dad and I didn't have him.
And I can see the pain. It was very hard for you, right?
Growing up, my mom, she had 4 kids, so she took care of all of us on her own.
The judge points out the problem. The birth date pushes conception months before he says they reconnected. That's not a small mismatch, that's a crater. The daughters are tired of hearing doubts secondhand. Then the court does what therapy can't. It opens the envelope. Listen for both names back to back, and watch the room change when the truth hits.
All right, on this timeline, you say you reconnected with their mother in the middle of April.
About 3 weeks before we got married, yes, ma'am.
All right, and you got married on May 4th.
Yes, ma'am.
Laquita was born September 29th, that same year.
Both results come back the same. He's the father of both daughters. Tiffany reacts like decades of doubt just collapsed. He looks stunned, but there's no arguing with the envelope, and the beat is her grace. She asks for a hug anyway. Moving on. Now a man shows up on Facebook claiming he's Mark, and the twins don't buy it.
Mr. Finister, you are the father. It has been determined by this court. Mr. Finister, you are the father.
I told you.
Did you hear that gasp? Emmanuel Hinton says a brief affair with their now deceased mother made him their father, and he's spent 25 years searching. Marlyn Waddell and her twin say he's a stranger who messaged them on Facebook. She remembers a Mark who took her for ice cream, then vanished, but the names don't match until they do today.
I went by my middle name in there because I just didn't want confusion.
Even if you went by Mark, and even if you went by that, and my mother told
says Emmanuel M. Hinton.
No.
Emmanuel Mark Hinton, yeah.
Hold on, let me go into the file, because this right here.
Even if my mother told that you were my father, when I was spending those gifts with you, why didn't I call you dad? Why was it Mark?
You did call me dad.
No, I've never called no one dad in my life.
You was 2 years old going into 3.
He tells a story, a surprise reunion at a flea market, kids running around, and a little girl jumping into his arms like she knew him. The mother allegedly says she probably knows you're her father, but Marlyn shuts it down. She says she doesn't remember that moment, and the only man she remembers is Mark. Hear her version.
I was in Columbus, Ohio at a flea market. Somebody came up and tapped me on the back of my shoulder. I turned around and looked. I didn't recognize her at first. Then she looked at me like, this is Tanya. Then it clicked for me right then and there. So we did our pleasantries and we hugged. So I said, well, why don't you come over tonight and
Two stories collide. He claims he took responsibility. She remembers Mark picking her up for ice cream, then disappearing. Emmanuel insists Mark is his middle name, and he used it to avoid confusion. The judge isn't buying vague explanations. She demands ID, pulls records, and pins him down with one question. Are you that Mark, the one from childhood?
He's not my father.
And that little girl was Ms. Waddell,
yes.
Maryland.
Yes.
He's not my father, Your Honor.
So, Ms. Waddell, you disagree?
I totally disagree. I literally only heard of this man 3 years ago when he messaged me through Facebook and claimed to be my father. So...
You don't remember that encounter?
Well, that brings us to the end. One case proves the DNA can't be argued with. Another finally ends a 29-year denial, and the sisters still offer a hug. And the Mark mystery? The transcript cuts before the DNA result. Not provided. Like, subscribe, and comment the most unbelievable line and why it mattered. Here's the final tag.
I went by my middle name in there because I just didn't want confusion.
Even if you went by Mark, and even if you went by that, and my mother
this ID
told
said Emmanuel M.
Hinton.
No.
Emmanuel Mark Hinton, yeah.
Hold on, let me go into the file, because this right here.
Even if my mother told you that you weren't my father.
That's the moment the whole room flips. In this first dispute, Shirley says she and Taurus already share a child, but he refuses to claim 6-month-old Isaac. She swears the timing proves it. He swears another man is responsible. But watch how fast confidence changes when the court stops debating and opens the envelope for the DNA results today.
Number. I asked he started lying and putting men's names on the number.
All right.
That is not true.
I called the
that
woman's number and she told me what he had on, what he was doing, where he was going.
Can I say something, please? Can I say something, please?
Rewind, and it's pure chaos. The judge lays out 6 years together, 1 accepted child, and 1 baby in question. Shirley says the split was messy, but insists Isaac matches his traits. Taurus keeps pointing to the other man and calls the pregnancy impossible. However, when she starts naming exact dates, listen closely, because his counterclaim lands immediately right there.
You say that you and Mr. Kaiser have been together for 6 years, have a 3-year-old son together, but claim he's now denying your 6-month-old son Isaac, and you're here to prove that he is the father.
The results say he isn't Isaac's biological father, and you can hear the shock. But what's wild is what happens after. Shirley pivots from proof to pleading, saying love can still make a family. Taurus says he still wants to be there, even while the trust is wrecked. That's the difference between DNA and decisions for everyone involved. Next.
It's gotta be a mistake, right? It's a mistake, right?
I am so sorry, but it is not a mistake. You are not baby Isaac's
But he
biological
can be his father. It doesn't matter if DNA or not, he can be that boy's father. Just because he has a daddy that don't.
In the second case, the tension isn't just about paternity, it's about grief. Venus lost her son Dominique, and Amber shows up saying she's pregnant with his baby. Venus calls it impossible. Amber says she told the family and stayed in touch. But memories, pain, and anger don't equal proof. So the court goes back to the beginning. Watch this.
Samaya Mangram and the grandparents, Andre and Venus Mangram. The results read as follows. In the case of Mangram versus 18-month-old.
Venus says she heard it at the hospital while her son was fighting for life, and she didn't want to hear anything about a baby. Amber says it happened differently and claims she reached out online first. Either way, they talk past each other, but the judge keeps pulling one thread. What happens to the child after today's answer?
Ms. Mangram, you're here today after losing your son to a violent crime. You say the defendant, Ms. Schools, is claiming your deceased son is her child's father, which you say is impossible.
Yeah.
Ms. Schools, you say you have no doubt that Mr. Mangram fathered your child, and today you will prove it to his family.
Then Venus finally says the quiet part out loud. She didn't want another reminder of her son, because the pain is already everywhere. It's hard to listen to, and the courtroom feels it. But Amber isn't backing down either. However, there's a twist. Venus says a previous DNA test was negative, and Amber says that test was flawed. Listen now.
And it's interesting to me, Ms. Mangram, as I hear you testify, the pain of losing your son is so great.
Every time I turn around, I can't stand it, even when people talk about him on Facebook. That's why I hardly go to his page. Because, and I know that he's a loving person. I know that he is.
Amber argues the earlier test happened after transfusions, and the judge notes why that matters to the dispute. Then the court orders independent testing through the courtroom, this time using the surviving grandparents. And when those results come back, Venus doesn't celebrate. She just claims she already knew. That's what certainty sounds like when it's mixed with loss. Moving on.
But it was only because he had a blood transfusion. Yeah. And the blood transfusion can actually alter the DNA. That's more than one person's blood.
Let me have that evidence. What you're saying is they took DNA from the deceased Dominique's body.
Yes.
Third case, same courtroom, new chaos. Juliana drags Wallace in because he named her baby King, but refuses to acknowledge him. Wallace says there was no real relationship and claims she's obsessed. The judge hears both sides, but the only thing that matters is the timeline and the test. First, rewind to how this even started, right from jump.
Mr. Tidwell does not have a relationship with my son. The only time he's actually seen my son is when I've made it a convenience for him and brought him to him. That means traveling 4 hours on bus, driving 2 hours on the car to drive to him.
Juliana says she's doing all the travel and parenting, while Wallace keeps distance. Wallace flips it and says she wants him to be the dad more than she believes it. His mother piles on, calling it obsession. But if you think someone is obsessed and you still keep them close, you're feeding it. Then the story jumps to Nevada.
I wasn't there at the birth. She only called me when she had the baby.
So take me back to this relationship. I want to understand all
There
this.
was no relationship.
Just what, casual sex?
Yes.
For at least a year.
That's a
And then I realized.
This is where suspicion turns into a war. They fight about leaving King with family, the trip to Nevada, and a man in the car when she returned. Juliana says she flew back fast because she felt threatened. Wallace says she vanished and barely communicated. However, none of that proves paternity. It only explains doubt. Now the envelope speaks.
Saying she had a modeling job, just all of a sudden just jumps up and leaves this baby with us. We took care of the baby at that time.
And she said she was in Nevada. I call her, I'm like, when are you coming back? Like, I have stuff to do too. I have, you know what I mean?
Take my son. I was in Nevada doing a photo shoot.
And I don't hear from him.
Well, that brings us to the end, and 3 stories landed the same way. Claims, feelings, and DNA delivering not the father or not related. Shirley tried to hold on anyway. Venus carried grief and demanded an answer. Juliana broke down when belief met reality.
From the bottom of my broken heart, Wallace Tidwell, I'm sorry. And to your whole family, I apologize. I have no idea who his dad is at this point.
We knew that.
I'm sorry, but I didn't sleep.
It's okay. Calm easy. Oh,
Oh, Ron, get her.